Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 10th Lebanon City Council meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, move on to the roll call members. Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Sure. Mike Kincaid.
Present.
Keith Campbell.
Here.
Morris Jones.
Here.
Dick Robertson.
Here.
John Copeland.
Here.
Brent Wheat.
Here.
Sierra Messenger.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from our previous meetings. I believe we have two, correct, again?
Three.
Three.
5:22,
Okay.
6:12, and 6:26.
Okay. Are there any?
All together.
Yep. Are there any changes to those minutes? Okay. Would entertain a motion then to approve the minutes for May 22nd, June 12th, and June 26th.
Make a motion, we approve all those minutes.
Motion approved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Morris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those minutes are approved. All right, on to old business. First item up is ordinance 2023-09. Council to consider a PUD rezone and ordinance for the Corbett Towns. And this ordinance is on second reading. Ben?
Thank you, Mayor. Just give a real quick recap here from the presentation Matt made at the last meeting. Pull up a couple items here. All right, if they want to go ahead and show the screen, we'll just get through this real quick. So if you all recall, this is the piece of property that's currently owned by the Brandenburgs that's up here at the north end of town. You can see the hospital just to the southeast right here, and Meadow Wings is just to the west, and there's that substreet of Meadow Wings that's going to be accessed as a secondary access property. So you can see the property where it's located here, off of State Road 39. And then this is coming into is a PUD rezone that would provide for the development of this townhome project that you see laid out here. Again, the primary access will be off State Road 39. They got a secondary access that goes into Meadow Wings, and then they're providing a stub to the north for future development that would happen to the north here on this Brandenburg piece that goes up to 300 North. Let me get out my notes here so I remember some of the highlights.
And Ben, this was a name change, correct, too?
I'm sorry?
When this first came through, this was called some Onyx something?
No, Onyx Point is actually a couple properties south of this. That's
south.
a different
This is
development.
separate. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So this was rezoned to multifamily, or was annexed and rezoned to multifamily, I want to say a couple years ago, give or take. There was a developer looking at that at the time and didn't move forward. And I think we've had 2 or 3 developers look at it since that point, and now this project is the one that's kind of stuck at this point.
Okay.
So, yeah, there is in fact, I just met with that developer last week. It's I think 2 properties south of this where Onyx
thank
Point's
you.
developing. Yeah, let me make sure to get my notes here. So just a quick summary here. It is 96 units. These are 2-story townhomes, and there's 17 buildings that you see represented here on the site. Couple of questions that had come up from my understanding at the last meeting, and let me pull up one more thing so I can answer those questions. One of the questions was about how many parking spaces, other than the 2-car garage and 2 spaces in the driveway, were there any other parking provided in the development? This kind of highlights areas where there are some on-street parking spaces. In total, there are about 16 available on-street parking spaces. Other than that, you pretty much got driveways, so there's very, very little additional space where you'd be able to put cars, but we do have, they have been able to provide a maximum of 16 spaces on street that you kind of see represented here in these red areas. And then the other question, my understanding, was about short-term rentals. In their new covenants draft, they limit rentals to no less than 30 days, so there would not be the opportunity for short-term rentals in this development. Certainly, if somebody wanted to rent something for a 12-month term or something like that, that would be permissible, but no, the short-term rentals are not permitted. Anything less than 30 days is not permitted. So that's a real quick overview. Again, as a reminder, this is a PUD rezone, so this is something that comes to you from the Plan Commission with a favorable recommendation. Assuming adoption this evening, then they would be coming back in. Actually, it's on the Plan Commission agenda. The preliminary plan gives further details in terms of the site development, landscape plans, and everything that's coming back through the Plan Commission for approval. But that assumes that the rezone is approved tonight by the council. So with that, I'll be answering any questions.
Any questions for Ben on that?
No, sir.
I'll have Rob read it, and then we'll have public comment.
Thank you, Mayor. Council Ordinance 2023-09 is the Corbett Towns PUD District. which amends Ordinance 0716, the Unified Development Ordinance of the City of Lebanon. Whereas the City of Lebanon is subject to the Unified Development Ordinance, the City of Lebanon Advisory Plan Commission, the Commission considered petition docket 23-36 filed with the Commission requesting an amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance and the zoning map with respect to the real estate attached as Exhibit A. The Plan Commission forwarded docket 23-36 after a public hearing on June 20th, 2023, and forwarded a favorable recommendation by a vote of 7-0, as been indicated in accordance with Indiana Code. This council is subject to the provisions of Indiana Code concerning an action of this request. Now therefore be it ordained, this Unified Development Ordinance and zoning map are hereby amended as follows. So as we went through, I'll just hit the highlights. Section 1 discusses the applicability of the ordinance. Section 2 addresses the definitions. Section 3 is the concept plan, which is also attached as Exhibit B. Section 4 is addresses the underlying zoning district, which again is multifamily residential. Section 5 addresses the permitted uses. Section 6 is the overlay district. Section 7 addresses the general regulations, including just the lot width, setbacks, building heights, and other matters that are set forth in there. Section 8 addresses the development standards. Section 9 addresses the design standards. Section 10 addresses the street standards. And then again, Section 11 is the permitting and procedures.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Ordinance has been read on second reading. At this time, is there any public comment concerning ordinance 2023-09? Seeing none. Any additional discussion, comments from council? Questions for Ben? Anything?
No, sir.
Okay. And then I would entertain a motion then concerning ordinance 2023-09.
I move we approve ordinance 2023-09.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from Dick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Thank you, council. All right, next up is resolution 2023-14. Council to consider a fiscal plan for the annexation of the Cavan property.
All right, so the annexation ordinance that was introduced to you at the last meeting, as with all annexations that we consider in the city of Lebanon, we're required to adopt a resolution for a fiscal plan associated with that annexation. As you recall, this is a 40-acre parcel in the north end of town that's proposed for annexation. There is no development proposed at this time, so the existing use of ag will remain for the foreseeable future, unless or until they do have somebody that's interested in developing that property. So just kind of walking through the fiscal plan, given the fact that there's not development, there's not a lot to this in terms of what you see in terms of additional service that we provide and additional revenue we'd see. So in terms of revenue to the city, I always go back to, I guess it's Appendix 1, and it's on page 12. So keep in mind that ag property, when annexed, is exempt from municipal taxes. So that's what you see represented in the first column. The estimated net assessed value of annexed area is listed as MTE, which means that it's exempt. So it does not pay any municipal taxes. Of course, we also don't really need to provide much service to an ag property, so there's really not any increase in services. The only thing we would really see is related to street department, police department, because there is a portion of 375 North that would be included in the annexation. So there are some additional street maintenance and police patrols that would be necessary as part of the fact there's a little bit of additional street to be added to the city. And that's what you see that's then on page 13. It kind of shows that we expect, starting in 2024, about $1,300 in additional costs associated with some of those additional street maintenance and street patrol requirements, increasing up to $1,400 by 2027. So obviously we don't have any additional revenue and minimal additional costs. Certainly that this fiscal plan would change significantly if and or when there is a development proposed, but that's a quick summary based on the existing conditions and existing proposed, I guess, with the lack of a proposal on the site in terms of what the additional costs the city might incur associated with this annexation, and also what additional revenue or lack thereof we would also have. So that's a real quick rundown of the fiscal plan, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Ben on that?
No, sir.
Ben, what's on average, what's a $200,000 house paying property taxes to the city?
I don't have an easy answer to that question because I don't know what all like the homestead exemptions and mortgage exemptions, what that does to the value. If we're assuming that there are no exemptions, which of course there are, you're looking at, I'm trying to think, in terms of municipal, it's, trying to think, so it's 2,000 times, assuming no exemption was not true, it would be $4,000 in total property taxes, but with all the exemptions, it's probably less than $1,000.
For one house would be.
For one house.
Okay. Point that out that, yeah, it's negative now, but literally,
Right.
literally if anything is built on it.
If 3 houses were built out there, it would pay for itself.
Any other questions for Ben? Okay, Rob, I'll have you read it.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Resolution 2023-14 is a resolution establishing a fiscal plan for the annexation of the territory listed in Exhibits A and depicted in Exhibit B. Pursuant to Indiana Code, this council is required to adopt a written fiscal plan prior to the passage of Annexation Ordinance 2023-10. The required fiscal plan is set forth in Exhibit C, attached hereto and made a part hereof has been prepared and presented to this council for consideration. The fiscal plan has been reviewed and complies with the requirements of Indiana Code. Therefore, be it resolved and adopted that this council hereby approves the area sought to be annexed in the fiscal plan.
Thank you, Rob. Now the resolution has been read. Any further comments from council? Any public comment concerning Resolution 2023-14? Okay. Seeing none, then would entertain a motion concerning Resolution 2023-14.
14.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Sierra. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That is approved. Thank you, council. And next will be ordinance 2023-10. Council to consider annexation of Calvin property, and this is on second reading.
All right, as we just discussed related to the fiscal plan, this is the annexation ordinance related to the same annexation. Just to give you just a quick overview here, this is the location of the property that's in consideration for annexation. This is State Road 39 that's just to the west. And then 375 North runs along the northern boundary of this property, and it is adjacent to existing city limits on this southern portion of the property, so it does meet all contiguity requirements. This is the second reading of the annexation ordinance. It's up for consideration for adoption this evening. And then we would put notices in the paper indicating adoption of the annexation ordinance, and after a 30-day waiting period, it would be effective. So that's a quick rundown of the process and location of the property. Again, as I mentioned, there's no development proposed at this time. The property owner just recognizes there's a lot happening in this area on the north end of town and thought that it'd be beneficial for him to go ahead and get an annex now, just to eliminate one step in a potential development process if and or when something comes to pass in the future. So that's a quick overview, but if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Ben. Questions for Ben from the council? Dick?
Ben, I just got one question. Put that map back up real quick. Maybe you can answer, maybe you can't. I'm just curious, how far do we have water services now up State Road 39? Do you know?
So they're down essentially in the, where State Road 39 is at the entrance to the hospital. That's
Okay.
essentially where they are right now. With the Spring Creek development, which is just catty corner to the southwest of this, they will be running water up to their site. And then also they'll have to install a lift station, which I think is somewhere in the neighborhood of where my cursor is right now. Just on the west side of the creek here, somewhere in this location. So if this site were to develop, we are asking for some oversizing of this lift station to provide some access to sanitary. And then also water would be extended up through this site that could provide some additional services to the surrounding area.
Just curious,
Yep.
thanks.
It's a little ways off right now.
Yeah.
Any additional questions for Ben? Okay. Rob, I'll have you read it, please.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Ordinance 2023-10 is an ordinance annexing certain territory to the city of Lebanon. Whereas 100% of the owners of the parcels proposed for annexation, as identified in Exhibits A and B, have filed a voluntary petition with this council pursuant to Indiana Code. The City of Lebanon Advisory Planning Commission held a public hearing at its meeting on June 20th, 2023, and forwarded docket 23-44 to this council with a favorable recommendation 7-0 to assign the single-family zoning classification for the annexation area. Council has conducted a public hearing on June 26, 2023, as required by Indiana law. This council has adopted a fiscal plan for the annexation of the annexation area in accordance with Indiana code. The annexation area meets the contiguity requirements by Indiana code, whereas this council now finds that the statutory criteria for the annexation have been met. Therefore, be it ordained that the annexation area generally located on the east side of State Road 39 and south of West 375 North and adjacent to the existing corporate limits along the southern boundary of the annexation area is hereby declared annexed to and declared to be a part of the city of Lebanon. The annexation area is further to include the contiguous public highways and right-of-way of the public highways which are adjacent to the annexation area pursuant to Indiana code. The annexation area is hereby assigned Council District 4 and shall become a part thereof immediately upon the effective date of this ordinance. The annexation area is assigned single-family residential zoning classification and shall be in full force and effect upon its passage and its publication and all the other requirements under Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Hey, Dick, doesn't your council district stay west of 39, though?
Excuse me?
Doesn't your council district stay west of 39? I wonder if there's a mistake. I wonder if it should be District 5 and not
It's
District...
west of 39.
Because, John, you stay...
39.
Right, you're all east of 39, right? So I think we need to amend the ordinance to have it reflect District 5, not District 4.
Yeah.
So, what section is that, Rob?
That is Section 3.
Section 3? Okay, would entertain a motion then, can I entertain a motion to amend Section 3 to read Council District 5, not Council District 4?
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, ordinance has now been amended. Public comment concerning ordinance 2023-10. Okay, seeing none. Any further discussion from council? Okay. I would then entertain a motion then concerning ordinance 2023-10 to approve as amended.
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 2023-10, the annexation of the cabin property here on second reading,
As amended?
as amended.
As amended. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second from John. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Thank you, council. All right, that concludes what I have for old business. Is there anything from council? Okay, new business then. First item up is ordinance 2023-12, amended salary ordinance for 2023, first reading. Ben?
Good evening, council members. We've talked about this new position a couple different times in council meetings and also at a work session. So this is the final step that we need to do in order to create this new position, and that is to amend the salary ordinance that was adopted last year for the 2023 calendar year. And so that was ordinance 2022-29. Essentially, what this amendment does is add the assistant planner / project manager position at a maximum annual salary of $53,000, and that will be added to the salary ordinance that was adopted in 2022. And that's, you'll see that in the exhibit, this should all be copied directly from that 2023 salary ordinance that was adopted last year, just adding an additional line under the planning department for this assistant planner project manager at $53,000 and changing the overall total to $548,611. No other changes were made. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ben. Questions for Ben on this? I will say, Tanya and I have been speaking, and since we have this opportunity to amend this, amending the salary ordinance, there are two other minor changes that we want to add later. We'll have those presented to you at the next meeting. One is a little adjustment of $10 that we had to,
For one employee, it's supposed to be $83,235, and it got entered as $83,225.
so a slight clerical correction there, and then also then there was a, the fleet manager position in my office wasn't amended. That was the oversight of mine. So I was going to do the normal cost of living adjustment we did for the rest of the positions for the city. So that's something that we'll at our next meeting. So, but again, just wanted to make that aware to you that obviously we'll be writing the budget here soon for next year, and hopefully these are the last fixes. So instead of doing another ordinance later, I want to at least bring them to your attention before we Well, we don't have the wording for you tonight, but we'll have that as an amendment for the next meeting, so. Okay. Questions for Ben concerning ordinance, or, sorry, I have Rob read it here now.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Ordinance 2023-12 is an ordinance that amends Ordinance 2022-29, fixing the salaries of certain employees of the City of Lebanon for 2023. Whereas on October 24, 2023, the council adopted Ordinance 2022-29, establishing the compensation to be paid to employees of the city for the calendar year 2023. Whereas the City of Lebanon Planning Department has a need to add a new assistant planner / project manager to address the increased workload. This council desires to add a new assistant planner / project manager position to the city's salary ordinance and set a maximum base salary for the assistant planner / project manager position. Now therefore be it ordained that this council finds as follows. There is hereby added to the city's salary ordinance an assistant planner / project manager position within the planning department with a maximum annual salary of $53,000. Attachment A-2023 salary ordinance, which is incorporated herein, reflects the new assistant planner project manager position, and it's hereby adopted. All other provisions of ordinance 2022-29 not affected by this ordinance remain in full force and effect, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon its passage as required by Indiana law.
Thank you, Rob. Any additional comments, questions from council? Okay. Ordinance has been read on first reading. We will take that up at our next meeting, which will be July 24th at 7:15 PM. That concludes what I have for new business. Is there anything from council? Okay. Any announcements or discussion?
I'd like to give kudos to the Parks Department for the July 4th, all the preparations that they did, especially with the weather that came in prior to. They did a fantastic job getting everything up and going and getting it ready for the public and still being able to get the parade and people celebrating the 4th. I thought they did an outstanding job. And I like law enforcement and public safety. Everybody did a great job, and it was a very nice time this July 4th.
So I want to thank the street department and the fire department for helping get
Exactly.
those trees down, or picked up as well too, because that was quite the storm right before. So, yeah, well said. Any other discussions, comments? Any general public comment? Okay, move on to claims. Would entertain a motion concerning the claims.
Make a motion, we pay it.
Claims, is there a second? Second from Sierra. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Brent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, our next city council meeting will be Monday, July 24th at 7:15 PM. We are adjourned. Have a great night.